Hello, this is Sandra Brown from Happiness Past 60. I just have felt for the longest time I wanted to share a story about the healing of my husband. Now, if he was living, he would be probably going on 86 years old. But at one period of time in his life, he got a big scare about cancer. They told him that he had colon cancer. And I felt like I need to tell this story. Not some sad cancer story, no. He was healed. He passed away from Alzheimer's, old age, but the cancer was totally healed and it never came back. So if you're dealing with that, this story might help you. To accurately tell the story, I will have to go back a little bit prior to him getting sick with this cancer. My son, I have two children, a boy and a girl, and my son, which is the oldest, he was 40 years old, and he died of brain cancer. So, of course, that was devastating. I've always believed in healing. And so I remember some days after his passing, if you've gone through grief, you know how it is. You get up real early usually, or you can't sleep, and everything going through your mind. And I remember the question in my mind was, okay, is healing for everybody? And is healing now? And I go, Lord, I just need to know. I'm not arguing, I'll go along with whatever because you're God, but I just need to know. Is it for everybody all the time? So this is a question had been on my mind. So this morning, it was early in the morning, maybe 6 or so, and I turned on the TV. I don't know if it was on YouTube at that time or what, because this has been 20 some years ago that he passed away. And a preacher came on there I'd never seen before. And he was wearing blue jeans and just a long sleeve shirt, very casual. And he wasn't yelling or being very excitable or, doing all the stuff you usually used to hearing. He was just talking calmly. But he began talking about healing. And of course, my ears perked up because I want to know. And the things he was saying was like truth just slapping me in the face. So I felt like wing, wing, wing. And I just sat there listening and tears running down my face because it was the truth. It was what I wanted to hear. He was talking about it's not how many people you have praying for you and how good you are and how good you are to other people or all this stuff like this, how long you prayed. He says, you've already got it. The Word of God says it. By Jesus' stripes you are, present tense, healed already. And I'm like, wait, then why are we begging and having all these people pray? So he talked about a book, and at the time, I think the first one I got was A Better Way to Pray by Andrew Wommack, Wommack. I will try to put a link on there. And then the other one was The Believer's Authority. That was really good. And the other one was You've Already Got It. So it's You've Already Got It is one. The other one is A Better Way to Pray. And the other one is Believer's Authority, The Believer's Authority. And I'll tell you, I really got into it. Not just his books. I was reading all kind of books on healing. I was listening to about healing and I bought all the books about healers. I bought books about heaven because my son was there. You know, it's like they moved it to another country and you want to know where they're at. But I was just building myself up. I even bought blank CDs and I went on Andrew's website because you can have, it's free to download all this stuff on healing, all these sermons. I had a shoebox full of CDs on healing and things like this. So my faith was so built up. And then I began sharing it with my husband and with my sister. So thank God our faith was built up because both of them, my sister and my husband, were going to go through a real trial of faith. Now, I'll be honest with you. This has been so long ago that I may get things out of sequence. I'm trying to remember everything. I don't like to sit and dwell on it too much, but I needed to dwell on it to make this video because I'm thinking there's people who just, they need to hear this. Not just cancer, any kind of healing, but cancer happened to be the one I'm telling you about now. But we lived out in the country. We lived on 10 acres. And my husband, at that time, I'm remarried since then, but my husband, Larry, he was on the deck. I think he was working on something around the windows. I don't know what it was, or siding or something there he was. And our neighbor, Tony, next door was there. And he was, I think, sitting in a chair talking with Larry while he's working. And this sounds kind of hot, how to say it, this sounds very personal, but he felt like he needed to go to the washroom. Okay, Larry did. And he went inside, and when he did, there was a lot of blood in the toilet. And he told me about it. And I said, I think you need to go into emergency. We got to see what's going on. And he went in and they were running tests and things like this. I got to think about the next part before I go on. All right, so after the test, I don't remember all this, but I know they told him that he had cancer. He had colon cancer. Actually, when it gets farther down in the colon, it's considered rectal cancer. If I'm remembering this right, you can correct me on all this stuff, but it's the way I remember it. So they wanted him to go to an oncologist, a cancer doctor. Now, as I said, our faith was really high. It was good. And the only way you could build your faith up, we all have faith, but to build it up and get it working, the Bible says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So I'm thinking about hearing. So we were even like reading the promises of God about healing out loud, or reading the books that we bought from Andrew. I would read them out loud so that I would hear them. You can do both. Read it to yourself and read it out loud. But so we ended up going to this oncologist. It was in Crown Point, Indiana. Big old office he had with lots of windows, I remember. I remember us sitting there kind of quiet. Now, I don't want to tell him what to do. it's his body. It was Larry's body, you know. I would never do that. He knew how I felt. It wasn't my body. I didn't have the cancer. I don't know what I would do. And I'm not telling you what to do. Because whether you get treatment or you don't get treatment, God can heal you either way. That's not going to stop him. But, okay, so he came in, the doctor did, and he explained everything they wanted to do. I believe their first thing they wanted to do is, I think it was radiation. They're talking about chemo to shrink down this tumor, cancerous tumor that was there. Then after that was shrunk down, then they would operate and cut out this area that had the cancer. But they wanted it shrunk down first for some reason. All right, so we were taking this all in just kind of quietly. Then we got out, we left the office, and we got out in the car. You know how you are after hearing all this, and you're in a kind of a stunned feeling you have, thinking it all over. I don't remember our words, but what we said, but we decided to pray about it right then. So I remember us holding hands in the car and just asking God what the next step is, what he wanted us to do. Well, Larry remembered reading where a doctor had decided to just have the cancer cut out, and he didn't have the chemo, and I guess he did fine. And he had felt that chemo was, you know, very detrimental to the rest of your body. So that's what he decided. He just wanted to have it cut out. But the doctor had said, no, they're not going to do this until they shrink this tumor down. But he wasn't going to be the surgeon. It was another doctor that was going to be the surgeon. All right, well, I'm wrecking my brain trying to remember the details of all this. So after we left the cancer doctor, we went to Sam's. Larry stayed in the car. I went in for some reason to get something. And when I came out, he says, "You'll never guess who called me." And I said, "Who?" And he goes, "The cancer doctor called me back." I go, "You're kidding. Why did he call?" And he said, "He just called and said that he changed his mind." And I go, "What do you mean he changed his mind?" He goes, "Well, he changed his mind about me having to have chemo and radiation before surgery. So they wanted to just do surgery and then have the chemo and radiation." Well, that was an answer to our prayers, because he did not want to get the chemo and radiation. He just wanted the surgery. So this was like, okay. So we ended up going to the surgeon. And see, now I got to take it back. It wasn't the doctor that called. It was the surgeon's office that called. His secretary called. That's who it was. See, I mean, this is so long ago. And that's what she said. They changed their mind. Yeah, that you were just going to, she wanted to set up surgery. And I go, "Well, I thought they were doing chemo and radiation." And she said, "Well, no, they changed your mind about it." So, okay. So we set up that appointment. And Larry had the surgery. Well, he ended up getting sepsis from the surgery. If any of you are familiar with that, it's very serious. He was in horrible pain, and he was getting very angry, and you know how it is, you go down to the nurse's station and you're trying to tell them he's in pain, and they're actually trying to avoid you. They're getting as far away as they can from the nurse's station window. And so I'd go back to him, and then I'd go back to them, and they would give me the suggestion, oh, he just needs to walk. That's common that he's in pain after surgery. He just needs to walk. She called it something. Yeah, I don't know. But that's what I need to do. I go. So I went back and told him. Well, he's very upset about it and angry about it, but I encourage him to do it, and I'm walking him around. And he didn't get any better. I didn't know he had sepsis, but that's what it was. So they came in and put a big needle in his stomach and did a drawing and found out he had sepsis. Now they're rushing him in right away. And they had to take all of his inside, his intestines and everything out. I don't know how they did this. And then they it took 2 doctors. They had gloves and washed all of his insides, put him back in, sewed him back up. Oh, I know this sounds horrible. So there was some period of time before, quite a while. You know how it is when you're up there, you're like, oh, we're ever going to get to go home. He was finally able to come home, but they had put a bag on him. Well, you know what I'm talking about. And, I'm not a nurse for a reason. I just don't like stuff like this. But they showed me right before he left. They showed me how to change it. And I'm like, only one time they showed me quickly how to do it. And we get home, and the minute we got home, we had problems. It's all over the floor, yeah. And I ended up, I remembered everything to do. So I was a good nurse in that way. I did everything right. I got him all cleaned up, put a new bag on, got the whole thing. All right. So he also had a wound vac hooked to the incision. And right now, I just cannot remember where that incision was. Somewhere in his intestinal area, lower area. But that had to be changed all the time. It continually was cleaning out this incision. So, yeah, it was not a fun time. And there was a time when he passed out on me, and I just had to let him fall on me to break his fall so he didn't get hurt. I remember, I think it was my elbow or my wrist, I hurt, but not bad, but. And then he's laying on the floor and needed that bag changed. Oh, gosh. And I had to call emergency, and they had a hard time. We had stairs over in the bi-level getting him out of there. And what happened then, he was just dehydrated because he didn't want to drink a lot because he was he having to change. The bag would be filling up. No. He didn't want to eat and drink a lot too because he didn't, whatever. I don't remember. Like I say, I don't remember. But all this time, though, and another thing I was doing, though, I think it was baking soda. We were reading where baking soda would heal cancer. Maybe you've heard of that. But I got mixed up in my head, and it was baking powder. But later on, I found out it has baking soda in it. But when I found out, I switched over, started doing baking soda. Oh my goodness. I was just, you're just trying everything, because if you're going through that, you know what I mean. You try everything. But basically, our big thing was we were trusting and speaking. He never spoke negative. We never spoke about death or anything else. Well, he lost 50 some pounds. So he was a big man. He probably weighed 220 something prior to this. And he went down to, I think, 160 pounds, I believe it was. So now we're back to the oncologist again, and we're in his office. And before we went in and talked with him, they took a blood drawing, and it was, I didn't understand, but it was about the numbers, if you have any cancer cells in your body or whatever. So he calls us in the office and starts talking to us about the chemo and radiation. And we were just kind of quiet. And I'm not going to say do it or don't do it, like I say, because this is his body. And I guess we expressed to him, I know Larry did first, because I told him I'll go along with whatever he wants to do. But Larry said he didn't want the chemo or radiation. The cancer was cut out, and that's all he wanted. He was looking pretty bad by now. Actually, okay. The doctor was not happy about it. And I said, Doctor, I go, look at him. He's lost 50 some pounds. He's just getting his strength back now. All he's went through. And now you're going to do chemo and radiation on him. And at his age, I'm trying to think how old he was, in his 70s. I go, I'm afraid that would kill him. Well, then he had us leave the office. He was very unhappy with us and had us sitting in the waiting room because they were getting the results back from the blood test they just took. So they handed me, he starts walking by me, the doctor did, and he just handed me this. It looked like a grocery cashier, when you buy your groceries that comes to the cashier, it's that long strip. I didn't understand it. And he just hands it to me and not say a word and just walk by. And I looked at it and I turned around and I go, Doctor, I don't understand this. I can't read this. And he said, he doesn't have any cancer. He's cancer-free. That's what you want to hear, don't you? And then he just walked off. So he didn't have any cancer. Nothing was showing up. Every 6 months, he had to go in and get that blood test. No cancer. And the doctor would say, the surgeon said, he was a separate man, not the cancer doctor, it was the surgeon now. He said, I wish my numbers were that good. I mean, I don't know what he meant by that, but he says, this is great, perfect. And it went on until finally they go, you don't need to come back anymore. You're just cancer-free. And till the day he died, he never got cancer. It never came back. I even left out a part. See, I'm remembering now. We had to go to Indianapolis. We lived in Crown Point, Indiana. We had to drive about 2-hour drive to Indianapolis, the hospital. 2.5 hours. And they said that the cancer had gotten out from the colon and was in his system. That was way before. This was some time before, because I can't remember all the sequence of it. But it was gone. Even though they said that the cancer had gotten to his system, broken loose, even though he didn't get the chemo or the radiation, I'm just saying, if you're going through something like this, I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just telling you, have faith, read everything and watch everything you can, testimonies about healing. And I know you have faith, but you have to stir it up. Stir your faith up by doing that. So let me know your story, okay? I mean, I've got more. I got stories with my sister, and I know I left out a lot. There was so much that went on, and I can't remember it all right now. You know, yes, it was a long haul, but it all worked out okay. So have faith.